Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll open our meeting. First of all, I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, our first meeting of 2024. We won't go quite as fast as you fellows did when I wasn't here, but we'll move right along. First, we'll open with our moment of silence to pray or as you wish, so we may better be able to do the business of the county this evening. Thank you. And next we'll have our land acknowledgement. So I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Mi'kmaq people, the ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people, and I want to thank the Mi'kmaq people of today for their ancestors many years ago sharing their lands here in beautiful Pictou County with our ancestors, whether they came 400 years ago or whether they came 4 years ago. We are all treaty people. Now, we'll move on to the approval of our agenda. Okay, moved and seconded. Are there any additions or deletions from the agenda? Oh, I've got two hands waving. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You probably received the email from Sue-Ann concerning the Bethel Presbyterian Church, and they wanted to know if they could reallocate their $70 from their municipal service grant. And I wanted to know if I could add that to the agenda for tonight.
Okay. Was that coming up under emergency or under this one here? Doesn't matter, I guess, but if it wasn't on the agenda in time, then it has to come up under the emergency resolution thing?
Okay, I thought you were calling for...
Yeah, well, I was, but I remember getting that note from you, and I think it read the emergency resolution. We'll catch it there anyway.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Councillor Dave Parker.
Yes, Warden Parker. I wish to apologize to Sue-Ann Music. In particular, last Thursday night I sent out an email. I was wrong. I was mistaken. I thought I had not received any prior notice of the Thursday night meeting. When I checked back on my record, thanks to some prodding by another member of council, I found that I did have that. I just hadn't paid careful attention to it. So I wish to apologize. I still will not be able to attend on Thursday night, and I will have much to say at some point about the land use planning documents. But tonight I want to apologize because I had made a mistake and my tone was rather harsh because of that mistake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now call for we have a mover and seconder. Call for the vote on the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Now we have the emergency resolutions. I'll let you put yours under there then, Councillor Wadden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's just the Bethel Presbyterian Church, and we're looking to reallocate their $1,700 from their municipal service grant money for this year. And they called me just within a couple hours after we had gotten the official agenda for our council meeting, so I was hoping to have it added tonight so we could let them know whether we'll put it through or not.
Okay, and we used to need 100% agreement. We only need majority. So the request is to add by Councillor Wadden to do with the Bethel Church in Pictou Landing to the agenda. Is there anybody not in favor of that? Okay, that will be added to our agenda. We'll put it where? Under 9D? 9D? Okay, 9D will be the Bethel Presbyterian Church. Okay, now our minutes, the meeting I wasn't here for, December 4th. Are there any errors, corrections, omissions from those minutes? Any errors, omissions, or corrections from the meeting of December 4th? One last time, any errors, omissions, corrections from those minutes? Okay, we'll declare those approved as presented. Now, under correspondence, did we get correspondence? No. Okay, there was none. It's Christmas vacation. Nobody was corresponding. Okay, we'll move right on, and it's a great pleasure tonight to have some special guests with us. One of them, a former counselor who sat around this table for many, many years, Leonard Fraser, and his wife Donna and Keegan McDonald. So they've brought great honor to our county for sure at the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair back in the fall. And so I want to read this first, and then we'll present something to the Frasers. So on behalf of council and staff for the Municipality of Pictou County, I would like to take this time to congratulate Fraser's Country Clydesdales on an exceptional performance at the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair in November 2023. Fraser's Country Clydesdales, which is owned by Leonard and Donna Fraser of Millbrook, Pictou County, was the #1 Clydesdale hitch throughout the competition and achieved first place finishes in the following categories: Ladies Cart Clydesdales, Ladies Cart All Breeds, Men's Cart Clydesdales, Team Class Clydesdales, Unicorn Class Clydesdales, 4-horse hitch Clydesdales, 6-horse hitch Clydesdales, Classic Cart All Breeds, First Tack Room Competition Overall Horse Exhibitors. The Royal Agricultural Winter Fair is the pinnacle of competitions for the agricultural community, and the team from Fraser's Country Clydesdales showed they have what it takes to compete with the best and win. Our community is proud of their accomplishments. With their recent success, Fraser's Country Clydesdales qualified to compete at the North American Championships in Indiana in September 2024. We wish them great success as they prepare for this event. And now we'll make the presentation, and I'm going to ask Councillor Chester Dewar and Councillor David Parker to join me in this presentation.
Kyle did
respect an animal, and a lot of people have to learn that an animal is just like an athlete. You got to work them to build their muscles, build their lung capacity, and all those things. So if you treat the animal right, the animal's going to look after you. So thank you very much.
Okay, folks, moving right along with our agenda. We're under number 9, A, Recreation Grant for Northumberland Regional High School. Councillor Dave Parker.
Thank you, Warden Parker. It gives me considerable pleasure to read out this motion. Resolution, be resolved. The council for the municipality of the county of Pictou approve a recreational capital grant of $1,000 to Northumberland Regional High School for an accessible multi-trail system. Dated the 8th day of January, 2024, Pictou NS. Moved by myself, Councillor David Parker, seconded by Deputy Warden Wayne Murray.
So second?
You've heard the reading of the resolution for the $1,000 grant, recreation grant to Northumberland Regional High School. Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments on that resolution? Go ahead, Councillor Dave Parker.
As most of you are aware, I serve on the School Advisory Committee for Northumberland Regional. And this came up at our December meeting. They have, I don't know the exact number of dollars, but a lot of dollars that are going into this. This is not just a little pathway through the woods. This is, they bring in fairly heavy equipment that can grind up stumps and dead logs and brush, and it makes a trail that's wide enough for a wheelchair in particular, and it's all leveled out. There'll be some gravel put on it. I think it's close to a mile long in total. It starts out near the highway on the high side of the school. It weaves into the woods there, stays on property owned by Connector Central. And it's sort of like a layout for a golf course. It sort of loops back a little here and there whenever they got a little more width, and it goes around the swamp, out and around the soccer field, and back around the other side of the school. I think it's almost 1 mile exactly in total. Okay, so it's going to be, and it's going to be what they call disc golf. That's for you to throw a frisbee and try to land it in this, what looks something like a basketball net, except with metal chain to slow it down. So it has many possible uses, including it's accessible. So there are children at Northumberland that are in wheelchairs. They'll be able to, they might not take them out on Wednesday of this week, but they will be making trips out there when the weather's nicer. It gives opportunities for the science teachers and the phys ed teachers and so on. There's just a lot of possible uses to it, and they've contracted, I think he's from the Bridgewater area, an individual who has this machine, and he's recognized as one of the top designers of these types of courses in Canada. So it is with some pride that I move this motion.
Okay, thank you. We had a seconder, Jerry? Yeah, you seconded. I just want to commend, obviously, the school on leading this effort and leading, say, a lot more funding than our $1,000 for sure. But I believe it's also going to be available to the community when it's not being used by the school. I think that's a big plus. In days past, I know when I was on school boards, and Donna was with me some, not in everything was the community allowed to use, what was at the school, because, well, it took some extra help or whatever, and a lot of times it'd be facilities there, but not usable to the community. So I think it's very important that this is is going to be available to anybody who wants to use it. I take it, if they use it responsibly. Are there any further questions or comments on the resolution? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Now, the next is Councillor Thompson on Engage Nova Scotia Quality of Life Municipal Investment Plan.
Resolution, whereas Engage Nova Scotia will conduct a quality of life survey in the fiscal year of 2024-2025, providing municipalities with 5 years of accessible, evidence-based decision-making information. Be it resolved, the Council for the Municipality of the County of Pictou contribute 50 cents a resident towards the cost of administering an Engage Nova Scotia survey in 2024-25, dated at 8th day of January in 2024 in Pictou, Nova Scotia, signed by myself, seconded by Councillor Chester Dewar.
So seconded.
Okay, you've heard the reading of the resolution on the 50 cents per resident toward Engage Nova Scotia for a survey. I will say before I open it up that I took part in the Zoom meeting when Danny Graham, who's the leader of Engage Nova Scotia, was talking about this very survey, and it's been very helpful to CBRM and some other municipalities that have already taken part in this, and it gives us a lot of information that there's no other place to get. It's looking at not just dollars and cents, but it's looking at quality of life issues within our municipality. So I think it's well worth what we're talking here. Are there any comments or questions on this resolution? Councillor Dave Parker.
As I commented at the committee level, I knew I had read a book a few years back on this topic. It's called The Life Project. It's written by Helen Pearson. It's about a survey that was started, it was 1 week only, in February of 1946, and I think in all of England, not in Scotland or Wales, but all of England, that every child that was born during that week, they had thousands and thousands of mostly young women going out and interviewing them. And then they started following them. So those people will be coming up to their, I think it's their 78th birthday in a few weeks. But it's amazing what they found out, okay? Data that came from that, and it's now been emulated in many parts of the world, changed how they set up their maternity wards, and encouraging doctors to have more mothers give birth in hospitals, because there's a clear difference. They can trace the roots of poverty and why kids fail. A lot of it has to do with their home situation when they're 1, 2, and 4 years old. The way they set up their schools, and on and on. Now, of course, many of these people are entering the final phases of their life, and they're learning more about the best ways to deal with people as they age. So the sooner we can get on this and the more data we can collect, it's expensive. It's expensive to collect that data. That's why they come asking for money. We're getting a heck of a bargain here. It does show what goes on in our society and where, let's call them where the pressure points are, where you can then begin to improve, whether it's preschooling or schooling or various programs for youth, or whether it's, as it goes on, there's all kinds of information that shows the impact of various programs. So this is a bargain. I'm very much in favor of it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that resolution? Questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Next is Councillor Butler with a very timely topic, Nova Scotia Power Outages. Let's hope the lights stay on.
Yes, Mr. Warden. Over the past month, we've experienced outages 5 different times, and it certainly is very frustrating for residents. And I realize that we've talked about this in this room not long ago with the officials of Nova Scotia Power, and they certainly went to great lengths to explain the additional measures they have put into place. But still, if you're a counselor and you're listening to people who call and complain about the situation, I'm wondering, is there anything else that we can do? One of my callers suggested that maybe we should be in touch with the Utility Review Board to see if they can apply some pressure to ensure that things are improving, because it doesn't look that way right now. I'm just wondering if others have had similar calls or have similar concerns.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Butler. Is there any, I have a comment to make, but I'm going to wait to see if anybody else has any comments to make on it.
I presume my comment's the same as yours, so.
Yeah, well, it could very well be.
Peter's.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wells.
I think Councillor Warden had me ahead of me, or Councillor McKeel had ahead of me. You want to go ahead? Okay.
Heard it as a side visit.
No, same thing. I mean, people are getting sick of the power being out and going out a lot now, man. It just times every time you turn around. But one other thing I'd like to point out is that a lot of the community halls and that have been given, or have generators now, thanks to the government, thanks to the municipality and that. But people think that when the storm hits, that comfort center's open. But we've been told by emergency response not to open until after the storm. For the simple reason is they don't want people out in that storm. So I think it's something we got to get out there, that a lot of people came to me, well, you just weren't open. Well, no, we're not allowed to open during the storm. It's after the storm.
Oh, good point. A lot of people don't understand that probably. Of course, depends how long the storm lasts. Sorry, Councillor McKeel, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I have two comments to make. The first is that my parents live in District 1. So they've been without power, I can't even count how many times. And it seems that it doesn't matter if it's blowing or it's a nice day, and there seems no rhyme or reason to it, and it's hours and days sometimes. So I understand the frustration of your residents, Councillor Butler, because there's no rhyme or reason to it. So the second thing is that I still receive lots of complaints. The point that I brought up that time that Nova Scotia Power was here and spoke to us in council, they made the comment, that there's putting lots of money into it. And the comment I made that night was that you can put lots of money into something, but if you don't have a plan for it, it really doesn't mean a whole hill of beans. And I think that's what we're seeing here, is that they may be throwing money at it, but it doesn't seem like it's really solving the problem. There's still trees on lines from Fiona in my district. There's still areas that have not been touched or cut back. And those are problem areas every single time the wind blows. And here we are coming into another wind event on Wednesday night with incredible winds coming and rain. And we just all assume that we're going to lose power. And to be honest, God knows how long. It just seems that it's becoming the norm now, and it's unacceptable. And I completely understand your frustrations of the residents in your area, Councillor Butler. Many residents in my area also share those frustrations as well. So I do hear from them and have pictures and that sort of thing. So it's very frustrating that it seems that the problem's not actually being solved. So thank you.
Okay, Councillor Dave Parker.
Yeah, I just a day or two before I received your notice, Councillor Butler, I'd something into our news and views on this topic. And there's no doubt that there's a lot of frustration. There also, in my mind, is no doubt that climate is changing. Now, we can debate back and forth as to why it's changing. The fact is that it is changing, has changed. We had two windstorms, the 11th and the 18th of December, which broke trees in my woodlot that had been there for 50 years, healthy spruce trees, not particularly large, just snapped them off 15 feet in the air. So that's a powerful wind that can do that. And it wasn't because there was a lot of ice or other buildup on the trees. So the storms we're having are worse. And the outages we're having are both more frequent and longer lasting. You can almost predict which areas are going to be out. The warden's area and some up your area, and they're not out for 3 hours. they're out for 3 days. And that gets really frustrating. So yeah, and we have had some preliminary discussions with them, and as the warden pointed out to me, we now have a vested interest because our fiber internet lines are on the same poles. So yeah, we have to work towards finding more solutions. I also note, I'm not trying to defend Nova Scotia Power, but their spending is 2.5 to 3 times on what they call vegetation management, that's clearing under the lines, than what it is in New Brunswick. Well, the last time I checked, New Brunswick is a bigger province than Nova Scotia. They may not have more distribution lines. The way our population patterns are, we have, and in Pictou County in particular, we have a lot of distribution lines. But yeah, we do have to have, as I put in the article, an adult conversation. I'm not sure that just pointing fingers and saying, you got to do this and you got to do that. I don't know enough about it as to what they should be doing to, quote, harden their grid. But I know everyone around this table and most of our residents want them to improve their performance.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have comments on this subject? Or if not, I'll say a few words here. I don't have any doubt, and I don't think anybody does, that the amount of wind that we're getting, put aside Fiona even as a oddity, but the amount of wind is just unreal. We never used to get to 100 kilometers an hour. We'd get to 70, 80, maybe 90 at the most. Now it's almost common to hit the 100. I've become so used to it, I can sort of, without any measure, I sort of know when we're at the 100 and when we're at the 110 even. But if we ever reach 130 and 40, which we did in Fiona, again, it just causes tremendous damage to people's properties, to people's woods, what's left. We had to cut down pretty all our woods after Fiona. It was 75% down anyway. It was just a mess. But I also want to look and see, is there any positive in here? How can we change it? It's one thing to sit around and say, how bad it is, and we all sort of know that, but who changes it and how do we change it? So the Stewart Road, which is right up behind the West Pictou School here, not a very long road, maybe 3 or 4 miles, but the people on one end of that road, their power stays off for 3 or 4 days at a time. The people on the end next to the high school, theirs is usually on within a day. So those people asked to be joined with the people on the other end of the road. They only needed 3 or 4 poles, and they could be joined on the other end. So they requested a meeting with Nova Scotia Power, so I worked on setting that meeting up. And so we met in this room here. Wayne was here with me, and we had about 8 or 9 residents here from that end, I guess it'd be the west end of the Stewart Road. But we had some of the top people of Nova Scotia Power here that day. I'm not sure why, because the power had just been out, or we had one of the Monday storms just 2 or 3 days before. But these weren't lower level people, these were top level people. And nobody was complaining about the linemen or anything like that. It's not their fault. They're doing the best they can do with a system that's not being properly looked after. And I thought, okay, this is a nice meeting and everybody goes away feeling better, but then nothing happens. And until one of the residents sent me a picture the next day, there was 17 power trucks on the Stewart Road. Took up most of the road. The road was blocked off at both ends. You couldn't get in. So on that very day, they put brand new wire right from the Durham Hills Road right through to where the other end, hooked onto the other end. They didn't hook onto the other end. They're probably not going to. But part of the problem was the wire was just wore out. It had been patched so many times. There was nothing more you could do to it. So I think one of the head fellows that was sitting right down there gave the order that day to get the trucks out there tomorrow. And now whether that improves their situation any come Wednesday, maybe the power goes off anyway. But I don't think they're going to join them onto the other end of the road. They talked about voltages, and there's a whole lot of stuff that we don't understand. But they did agree to get a lot of, they've got people out there now clearing all the trees and everything around. But they talked about having a lot more community meetings, like what we had here. and we got some results. So I think they're willing to work with us to set up community meetings. And I think that's what we need to have in your area, Councillor Butler, and yours, Councillor McKeel, and many of the other areas. We'll request the meetings, and I think they know that they're heavily criticized right now, which is rightfully so. It's very, very frustrating when you're off day after day. When it gets up to 3 and 4 days, especially, your generator, if you're lucky enough to have one, will help you out for a while, but after a while it gets pretty tiresome, and people have to move their generators around. It's a lot of work, and they do lose. You lose food, you lose everything. If you're a farm, you need those generators working all the time, and maybe you don't have enough to go around. So I think as a council, we need to pressure Nova Scotia Power, and we met with them enough times now, we almost know who to get a hold of. Matt Drover? Yeah, that's the fellow to go for. But anyway, I think we need to push for these community meetings, and they want to work with the public, they said, believe them, because they want to cut the trees back a lot farther than because what's directly under their line, those trees that are on both sides of that are still going to fall on the power line, but it's not their trees, so they can't cut them without the permission of the owner. Well, it's one thing if it's right in front of your house, a nice big maple tree, you're probably going to say, no, I want to keep that. But a lot of property is just woods property, which, I really think we have to do better. Oh, we better slow down, the deputy. We have a timer now. Anyway, enough said, but I think we can do something, but we have to work with these people and not just criticize them. Mary, you got 5 minutes.
I have 10, you took 12.
Yeah.
Can we make a motion, or may I make a motion?
You go right ahead.
That we do contact the Nova Scotia Power officials and bring them in so that we can discuss how we'd like to set up community meetings for all of our districts of those that are interested. And I do believe your statement about winds are stronger than they ever have been before, but you can have a power outage and no wind at all.
Oh, yeah.
And those maps are not realistic, because one of our meetings in here, Larry informed me that my power was off because it said so, but my power was on. So they're not. And after they get so bogged down with power outages, they just give everybody the same message. And I don't think that's fair. I think everybody should know where they stand and be updated.
Okay, so you made the motion, now we need a seconder for that motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor McKeel. Go ahead, Councillor Dewar. Okay, so let's deal with the motion for now. Your comment isn't necessarily directed on the motion. Any further comment on the motion of having Nova Scotia Power appear here so we can set up some of these community meetings or work on it? Okay, I don't see any, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. And now we'll go back to Councillor Dewar.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Well, I think council should send some kind of thank you or recognition to that particular group that was here that day. If he could get 17 trucks out on those hills in one day, and you get far more with a little sugar than you do with vinegar. So anyway, I think there should be a thank you go for what they are doing, and hopefully that they'll improve on what they are doing. Thank you.
Very good, and that's very true, what you say, of giving them credit for what they do, and it's not an easy job, and everybody's going to criticize them, but we need to work with them if we're going to get some changes here, I think. Okay, so we have that motion, so we'll go ahead and set that meeting up. Did you have something?
Mr. Warden, just on Mary's concern about the timing, that question was asked today that we met with the Stored Road people, and the Nova Scotia Power people said they would have a look into it and see if they could find out more, get it more correct than what it is now. So they did promise us that at that time, but we can ask them again.
Okay, we'll move along then to the addition tonight that Councillor Wadden requested on the Bethel Church in Pictou Landing, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, thank you, Council, for agreeing to let me bring this forward tonight. But I received a call from Joni Roper in Pictou Landing. She's on the Board of Managers for the church, wanting to know if they could reallocate their funds because they've had some damage to the church hall from weather-related damage. And the gentleman that was looking after doing the MSG, the municipal service grant was for video equipment, but he's no longer with them. So they really don't have anyone, an IT person that could put the equipment in for them. So she was hoping that they could reallocate to do the repairs to the church. So I'd make a motion that I'd ask council to let them reallocate the funds.
Okay, so the motion is to reallocate the municipal service grant funds that were granted for the Bethel Church in Pictou Landing to make repairs to the exterior of the church. Okay, are there any questions or comments on the motion? Question called. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Now, we're going to skip the one on the Gut Bridge for now because we're going to have to go in camera, and I want to finish up the community announcements in particular before we do that. So I'm going to ask first if there's any community announcements this evening. Go ahead, Councillor Boyles.
Yeah, I have two. One is that every Friday night, the Hillside Community Society puts on a music jam at the hall at 6:30 until 9. Lunch served, $5 to get in, and it's great entertainment and great time had by all. So, and the other thing, starting in February, the first Tuesday of February, Stuart Barkley, 5-degree black belt, is going to start putting on martial arts classes at the hall, starting at 7:30 till 9 every Tuesday and Thursday evening. So it's something that they're hoping that's going to bring the kids out and get them into something other than walking the roads and that. So that's I think going to be a good program. So just letting everybody know.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Boyles. Glad to see the hall there is being well used. Okay, any further community announcements at this time? I have one thing to say, and Wayne, you watch the clock for me. I just want to thank, yeah, you used it all before. I just want to thank all the residents of our rural municipality who went above and beyond decorating their homes and their properties this Christmas. It was just a joy to drive around and see some of them. You know, a lot of work and a lot of money goes into, and a lot of time goes into doing this, but we all get to enjoy it. We just, all we have to do is pay for the gas and drive around and have a look at them. But I know in my district, and I started this last year, and Adam printed off some appreciation certificates. So I went around and some of the really nice, well-done jobs, and they don't have to be the biggest, but well done. I presented them with a certificate thanking them on behalf of the municipality for making our county look so good at Christmas time. I just think it really adds to everybody's enjoyment. Before we hit the mark there, I'll retire. When the power's on, yeah, it's not so good when the power's on. But I wanted to thank everybody in our county for that. Any more community announcements? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go in camera at this time public session, we just don't have any public anymore, we lost them. So I will turn the mic over to Councillor McKeel.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd like to make a motion that we grant the request from the town of Pictou for the gut bridge funding in the amount up to $30,000, with the caveat that if they receive any additional funding from different levels of government or community groups, that our amount be proportionately discounted. So I'll make that a motion.
Okay, and we need a seconder,
I would
Wayne.
second that,
Yeah.
but it should be extra added in there, should it not?
Should be what?
Extra, because we already granted them 70.
Yeah, and the word extra, an
Extra
extra
should be-
30,000.
Yeah.
Additional.
Yeah, additional.
Additional,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yeah, no, that's just to make it clear. Okay, it's been moved and seconded then that we grant an extra or additional 30,000 to the Gut Bridge project, with the caveat that there be, if they receive funding, that there be a proportional discount on our 30. All those in favor? Or, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to be clear, like, I thought we were talking about making sure that Pictou didn't pay less than we did, and I thought that was the caveat we were going with, not. This makes it sound like if they get any money at all, they'll still have a shortfall, right? Like, how much money would they take in from the Southern NRHS or something before that would disqualify our 30,000?
Well, I took it to be that if they got, say, 10,000, that it, would be proportional what the town gets and what we get from that 10.
Okay.
So it'd be 5 each, I guess, that would come off our 30. If they get 25, well, then it would be 12.5 come off.
What?
No?
That's that way, no.
Okay, explain it to me then.
Well, they have $160,000 in it, and right now we have only $70,000 in it. Am I correct in saying that? So if whatever percentage that is, so let's say like they're 65 and we're 35, we'll get a 35% back.
Okay.
They'll get 65% back because they have more money into it than we do.
Do we have a figure what they get into now, Brian? Would that be the, not that we need the exact figure, but you're
Yeah, we're in for
70 right now.
69 and
Or
change.
how much is it?
60, yeah, we're in for 70 and they were in for 80. Based on the original funding, they were in for 83 and we were in for 70. They would now be we'd be in for 100 and they would be in for 172.
Yeah, just based on the amount that's left to cover. But no, that's fine. If that works, what you said, Darla, the proportional, so not just half and half, it'd be maybe 2/3 and a third, or proportional anyway. Is that good then, Debbie? Yeah. Okay, any other questions then before we have that vote? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Thank you for helping us work our way through that. We got to an ending, and I think it's fair to them and fair to us. Go ahead, Jester.
We go in camera just for another minute. I want to ask something, and I didn't want it to be out in the public, okay?
Okay, I'm not sure what the rules of in camera, as long as it fits it.
As long as it doesn't go out on the tape or...
Have a meeting adjourned and then you can say whatever.
Yeah, let's do it that way, because there's certain rules for us to go in camera. Let's, okay, yeah, I just need to, we don't have a vote, just declare the meeting adjourned. Now, Chester, you go ahead, because we're outside of that now. Oh,
Hey,